45 seconds. We can't hear you. That's what I'm told. Trying to figure out what they have done. Where's the stream now? I don't know what's going on. All right, hold on. Good Lord, Chuck, God Almighty. I think our panels may not be working. Let me try this. Hey, Happy, how's it going? All right, I don't know. They changed something, and it's not. It's just appearing differently to me. Again. Good. Love it. Love change. Love it when they change stuff. Makes me happy. I feel like I gotta get a new webcam. One of these days. I'm sure, yeah, they did something. Everything looks different on the channel when I go in and log on, and the stream, I fixed it so it was over here, now it's over here. Yeah, that's what it is, Effie. They're keeping me on my toes. I am gently chastising Chuck. Okay. How's it going, everybody? Yeah. Well, you know, we really do need, we need to get me some new gear around here. The glare on my glasses, the camera, and there's some other stuff. My thing fell off of my, my wife gave me that. Thank you for the subscription, Epi. Much appreciated. That thing has moved around my desk for weeks now, and I finally mounted it on both of my monitors, and I suppose that my talking reverberated it off the monitor. Lord have mercy. Chuck, you do too much talking. Just give me the links and let me buy some stuff. We've discussed it enough. It's too much discussion. The guy from the Big Bang Theory used to wear glasses, not frames, to avoid the reflection. Yeah, you know, I've never done contacts. I've never put contacts in my eyes, and I doubt seriously I'll ever be able to. But it sure would be handy and avoid this mess. But I've actually kind of moved the office a little bit so that I can get some kind of lighting stuff over here that's supposed to do something. Yeah, so in this. But we'll see. If Chuck will send me the links, we'll get it bought and into the office as quick as humanly possible. Which may not be quick these days. And my understanding is that people are having trouble getting a hold of camcorders, all kinds of stuff, as everybody's been scooping up all the little bits and pieces as we go digital. So many companies, I guess, are using Zoom now to allow malware to download on their computers or whatever Zoom is doing. How's it going, Hot Chantel? Yeah, so fun. Always fun. Without a doubt. Technology. So we are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 50. This is our 50th, I don't think it's our 50th show, but it's the 50th newsletter for GM's Tricks of the Trade. Tim wanted to do something to celebrate it, so he has launched, he wanted me to let everybody know he has launched a 50% off select items on the store in the specials category. So go over there, and there's a code. Hold on. I'm sure someone will post it. There it is. Wait, is that it? Yes, there it is. There's the code, GMTT50. Can't believe we've done 50 of these newsletters, which is what, 225, 250? No, it's 225? I don't know. I know I do 6 sometimes, so it's a lot of tricks of the trade. Pretty cool. And what? I've done 2 so far, and I copied them from Jason Bay's spread the sheet, the stat block sheet. I just copied and pasted. That's all I did. So hopefully, I'm assuming you're talking about maroons of ends meat. Hopefully they are correct in that, because we have already printed several hundreds of copies of those. Yes, we do. We got a lot. How's it going, too? But we got a lot of stuff. In about a week or so, we've got, first I've got to get a Humble Bundle package together, and we've still got a few titles to wrap up for the Amazing Adventures 5e, and then I'm going to, Tim, Chuck, and I are going to sit down and we're going to do a real round robin on World Fantasy Grounds, because we need to get more stuff out there on Fantasy Grounds. It's huge. Yeah, we'll have there'll be smaller titles, 5e stuff, going into the Humble Bundle, which is in June, I think. I'm not sure when. I can't remember what, the Outpost is one of them. I can't remember the other one. But I got to get all that kind of hobbled together and over to the Frog God folks. They do all the sponsoring of that and very kindly invite us to join them. Which we do. And they always have nice charities that they're supporting. And it's great, customer outreach. A lot of new people get to see Trollo and stuff and all of that mess stuff. That is very cool. So we're here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 50. Definitely check out our specials for whatever Tim has thrown up on the internet for sale. And let's dive into it. If you're new here, if you're new to the Troll Lord Twitch channel, please give us a follow. We sure appreciate it. And to share our channel around as much as you can. Also, there's World Anvil. We're up on World Anvil now. Definitely check that out. The World of Air. Our own setting is on World Anvil, and we got a Patreon. I don't remember how to pronounce that. It's like Tome and Tomb of the MT. The Patreon account is up and running to allow everybody to have access to all these GM Tricks of the Trade and to get into World Anvil. All kinds of stuff as Tim and Chuck have pushed us into, with a lot of help from people like Perry and Epi. Have pushed us into a new digital arena. So without further ado, let's dive into setting. This is actually kind of Tim's idea. He's been working so hard on World Anvil. I was talking to him about doing something different, doing something special for the 50th newsletter or the 50th GM Tricks of the Trade, and he suggested settings. He thought it would be a cool idea. He thought it'd be a cool idea to kind of get into the way I approach, settings and how to create them and how to start them. And it's a great idea because we've done these two on campaigns. We've done the last two Tricks of the Trade were on how to develop campaigns and how to run campaigns. And really, I could go on probably another 3 or 4 Tricks of the Trade on that one. On those, I'm a huge advocate of the campaign. And with the campaign, of course, comes the implication that you're going to have some type of setting within which your adventures are going to take place. And so both of these subjects kind of just dovetail in a really nice sort of way. And of course, I'm extraordinarily fond of settings. I created the World of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬. That's this monstrosity here, and it's got the Codex of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, the Monsters and Treasures of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, and the Player's Guide to 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, and about 25, 30 odd modules. And more in the works, and now fiction. And it's all really about that. It all starts with a kind of a simple creation of the setting. In fact, 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, if you want to trace, there's a bunch of influences on 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬. There's a bunch of places that it came from. Primarily a novel I wrote when I was in the Army, but one of the things that plays directly into what we're talking about tonight is how 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, the big game, got started was in the world of Greyhawk, in the barony of Istall. If you look in the Kingdom of Keelland, you'll see this little city called Istall down in the lower left side, I guess. Is it? I can't remember. But anyway, and when I first began running Todd and his cohorts through, it was in this little barony there. Now from there, it began to develop. I began to change, and then eventually kind of set Greyhawk aside and created my own world, but you can still see some of the influences in it. But it began with this very simple keep and 2 little villages, I think it was, with all of the people in the village and all of the stuff that went in and around it, and they began adventuring. And that's really what the first trick of the trade, that's exactly what we're talking about. When you're creating your own setting to start your campaign, or even just an adventure arc or whatever it is, or if you want to actually build a world, start small. That's the first trick of the trade. What is this? Point to the beautiful title panel. Yes, it is absolutely. I like the hands there. Very cool with the little whatever clover. Is that a clover? I've been picking clovers for weeks. and with a little clover coming out of it. But yes, that your your beautiful panel covers it perfectly. So start small, and by this I mean don't sit back and create this entire world with gods and histories and cultural clashes and all kinds of artifacts and stuff that are in here with these themes and all of this stuff. Think small. Start especially for game table content. Create a crossroads, a miner's camp, a small village, a keep. Something that's small, something that your first level players can enter and interact with and become a part of. And what you want to do really is whatever locale that you choose, you kind of want it to be something that's inhabited because this is going to give you so many more tools to expand the setting as the adventure goes and as your imagination unfolds. You really want some type of habitation. And then place it somewhere in some type of terrain, but keep it small. You really don't want to do a town or a city, anything like that, because that's going to, especially a city, even a town, really, a medieval town is going to have all manner of, NPC interactions and power struggles and conduits for trade and, just all guilds, all kinds of stuff that are going to be woven into the town. But you don't really want to start with all of that because it's too much development. It's too much for the players to immediately encounter as they're beginning to develop their characters and you're beginning to develop the setting around what you want. You'll end up, when you do something like that, if you go too fast, you'll end up with material that you may not have wanted if you were rushed in and forced to kind of hobble together because you weren't quite ready and you didn't quite have it all outlined and how the player and which directions the players are going to go. When you start small, the direction that the players are going to go and the things that they're going to interact and the things that they're going to do are fairly limited. I mean, they're limited really to the size, to the brevity of your setting, and that's really why in the first trade you should really go small. We're growing those looks like a winter squash. Oh. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's something, some kind of little plant to keep hopping out of there. But so the first trick tonight is when you're building your setting, start small. Think small, and then develop it beyond that. So let's move into 𝐵𝐿 of old. Yeah, one of these days I'm going to write the entire history of the development of the setting, because it really is an interesting leap that we played in the world of Greyhawk. I absolutely loved the world of Greyhawk. I thought it was a fantastic setting. And when we kind of ended the game, I joined the army, I wrote this novel, and I reconceived so many things that we did, and then I began developing this world that was just different. It had elements of Greyhawk, but it was different, and we carried it over into this new kind of genre, this new stomping ground, if you will. And from there, it just, of course, exploded, as it has over the past couple of decades. Steve, I get schooled constantly on Discord about 𝐵𝐿. There are some smart folks around. Well, there you go. What were you schooled on most recently? I think Jason actually caught me confused the other day when he asked me about how many moons. I'm pretty sure the world of Greyhawk has 2 moons, but the world of 𝐵𝐿 doesn't. It has 1, but always in my head are these 2 moons that are from Greyhawk, of course, and not in the world of 𝐵𝐿. There are 2 planets, but not two moons. It's a lot of content, though, Chuck. I mean, there's a mountain of content on 𝐵𝐿. It's the history is there, and I'm actually, what was I writing just this morning? So we're venturing forth from what we've been doing in the past many years, and we're going into the plains. We're going to do something a little bit different for Castles and Crusades, and I'm going to use 𝐵𝐿 as a vehicle to do it. So in looking at the planescapes and the way I kind of want to put that together, I started taking elements of 𝐵𝐿, and one of the books that will come out of all this, I don't know if it will be called this, but it's going to be, right now the working title is Of Gods and Monsters of 𝐵𝐿. The cover is actually on my wall there. But I started working on what's called the 3 houses, and the 3 houses are the throne of 𝐵𝐿, the homeless house, and the still lake. And the homeless house, of course, is where the red god Orndul dwells. 𝐵𝐿 is where 𝐼nchlar, the horned god, dwells. And the still lake is the restless mind of Narhite, the god of chaos, unburdened. So I worked a whole lot on the Still Lake and the Guardians of it, fleshing out the coven of witches that all serve Narhite, and then that led me into the entropy runes, which are going to go into what is the book called? The Spell Compendium or whatever we're calling it. So I did a lot of work today, both on Erd and on this crazy spell book that we're working on. Moons are paradox. You want fantasy but avoid cliche. How many moons is that? Exactly. Yeah, how many moons didn't they just discover some more moons around Jupiter or Saturn or something? Yeah, you can have a lot of moons, I think, if you want. And the thing about, I think, when you're dealing with that type of stuff, Oxyvorax, is this is where the mythology of your world comes in, and this is actually, I'm glad you got us back on point. This is kind of where the building of the setting comes in. Now I'm going to get into this a little bit more on the more grandiose sides of things in the next couple of weeks as we explore settings. But that the whole question of moons is, one, are you going purely mythological, as in the moon as the chariot of the wheel of a chariot of a god or something like, or an actual god or something like that, which it is in the world of Erd, or are you going a more physical construct like Earth or Mars or Venus? Like Venus didn't have a moon. Does Venus have a moon? I don't think Venus has a moon. Poor Venus. Poor planet's got nothing. I am the only moon that matters. There you go. One of my favorite quotes from the Erd creation narrative. But of all the Valarikun, Narhite is the most unwholesome, for there is no part of him that is good nor kind unless by accident neglect. All right, thank you. I love that piece. Narhite actually became, as I expanded, the original Codex of Erd had quite a bit of history in it. And for the second printing, I expanded a lot of that history and just took kind of thematic elements that I wanted and wrote more stories and all this other stuff. And Narhite quickly became my favorite god. And I don't know, when I'm reading the Codex, and I'm the guy who wrote it, I don't know, and DM, maybe you have a thought on it, I don't know if he's evil or not. I mean, he is. He causes more mayhem than anybody, but it's almost nonchalantly. You know what I mean? It's very, I don't know, the character grew on me after a while as this, I don't know, foil or something. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it, and that may be something, that's a good way of putting it, because, if you look at Davis's world of Enzea, he doesn't have good and evil. There's no constructs like that. It just is, and that's probably the best way to put it. He really isn't evil. He's not good, certainly. He just causes a lot of problems. But he also, out of his, machinations comes beautiful and wonderful things. So, who can say? But I'm glad you enjoyed that section. I got it, and so you'll be glad to know that I am working on his the Still Lake is his spot in the world. That is the restless mind of Narhite. And I've grown very fond of calling him the unburdened one. Speaking of which, and I'm going to have to put this out publicly somewhere, but I got a huge mistake in the Codex of Erd. Under the goddess Tefnut, it says the Maiden of Pain, and that is not true at all. Tefnut is not the Maiden of Pain. That is Imbricius. Tefnut is a river goddess. She's extraordinarily powerful, but she's not. I'm not sure why that got translated over to that. I know that she's extremely aggressive and can be extraordinarily violent, but she's not. She's not that. So I'm going to have to fix that definitely for the next printing, which we are actually creeping up on. But everybody's not here to discuss Erd and its many machinations. Let's dive into this next fantastic panel, The Devil's in the Details. So we've got a hand with a pitchfork on this night. Okay, so this is where, when you're building your setting, that sounds like the rumor from an errant cult. There you go. I'll tell you, I love cults. I absolutely, who's it, Wagner? That's Cain. He made the character Cain. Not Curtis Wagner. Whatever the guy's name is. He always described these ancient and dark cults. I absolutely love that stuff. Very fascinating read. I need to go back to that. That's actually where I got the name of my favorite character, Cain the Godless, who eventually wound up in the Codex of Erd as well. So in this setting creation process, once you've narrowed in your focus, you've decided on it's a keep or it's a village or a roadhouse, as Casey Christopherson did with Dirty Bobby's Roadhouse, Dirty Bob's Roadhouse. Whatever it is, at this point now you want to add just some flavor to it, of details. You want to add some terrain around it. You want to add some flora and fauna. And this is really where you want to kind of tap. And the internet's a great place to do it. You can go to maps, and you can go to Bing Maps and check out whatever terrain in a forest in central Arkansas or Montana or France or wherever you want to be, and just to kind of get an idea of what it might look like, or you can just do it yourself. Carl Wagner, that's it. Cane stories, yes, absolutely. Love Wagner stuff. It's been years since I've read it. Really need to delve back into that. Where I got Curtis, whatever. So add details to this thing. Add types of bushes and some trees that are growing around a settlement. A little valley here, a creek. Water is always a very good thing because whether it's a small lake or a pond or a creek or a little river, you can take those things and with weather make them larger, make them smaller, and create instant adventures around just crossing a river, building a bridge, any kind of stuff. So I always recommend water. Go somewhere near what you're doing, but just kind of look east and west and north and south and flesh out just what the people from this settlement can see. I think in the descriptions, if I remember, there's hills to the north, there's an escarpment to the east, some bogs, peat bogs, and marshland and forest to the west, and then a small valley to the south where the creek tumbles into and makes the lake. So, and suddenly when you've done this, you've created a small world within which your adventure can unfold. Now you want to detail it a little bit even more, add some juniper trees to it, add a specific type of grass, peat bog, whatever it is, caves in the escarpment, types of rock, large granite sticking out, granite boulders sticking out from the grass in the north. Whatever it is that your viewers and more importantly you can focus in on as you build beyond. These little details, and I think what I said in the newsletter was I put in a valley blackberry bushes. That's right. The creek goes down from the trading post down into this small valley, fills up this deep crevice into a pond before it flows on and off, and all around is the blackberry bushes. So in these blackberry bushes now I can have bears. Bears love blackberries, so bears are coming in and out. Things are hunting the bears. You've got birds that come in. I think I mentioned cardinals and jays. I'm not sure. Probably what was on the bird feeder a while ago. But so you have fleshed out this setting with some really nice details. It's going to allow, when you describe it, it's going to allow your players to notice or to take, or at least to visualize something in their head. And like I said before, when you're doing descriptions like this, it really doesn't matter that the player sees what you see. What matters is that the players see something and are engaged with it and are latched onto it. Okay, these are blackberry bushes. I know what blackberry, even if I don't know what they look like, this is what I want them to look like. And we got a bear that occasionally comes into it. So suddenly you've given flesh to this little setting, and you can kind of see all the countryside around it. So when the characters come out of the tavern or whatever it is, they can see the hills to the north and the escarpment to the east when they begin whatever adventure it is that you're going to launch them on. And this just plays into what terrain does, what overland terrain does. It allows you to control the environment. It allows you to control the amount of information that you're going to have to feed to the players immediately and the amount of information that they have to take in as you develop the setting around them. Again, if you're in a town or a city or a crowded thoroughfare or anything like that, you're going to have too much information for them, and it's going to be just gobs. They may not want to know it, but some may, and it's going to push you in directions that maybe you're not ready to develop yet. Let's see, Corwillian. My internet isn't working well enough to watch, so I'll have to watch later. But I had a couple of questions for Stephen about Aird. One, where is a good town, fort, keep to start players at in Aird? And two, I love the Savage Frontier from Forgotten Realms. Well, when it actually was a Savage Frontier, they're placing there that similar, a cold, mountainous frontier, and I'd much prefer to play in Aird. So, to your first question, it kind of depends on what kind of game you want to play. So when I laid out the lands of Ursel, I tried to include a little bit of cultural stuff from different epochs in human history, Roman, Greek. Mostly it's medieval Europe, probably years 700 to 1200, somewhere around there. But there's little bits and pieces of it. But as a starting adventure with a small keep, I would probably put it in, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is the Blacktooth Ridge. We've published a lot on that. There's a lot of developed material on that. And that's over in the lands of Anna. But probably my favorite outside of the Dark and Cold stomping ground is the Kingdom of Aachen. Now, Aachen is very cool because it's this quasi-medieval kingdom where it's definite feudalism, where the lords all have independent power away from the king, and there's the wilderness mountains to the east, the deep dark forest in the middle of it, wild kingdoms to the north, and wilderness plains and plateaus to the south. And it's not too far to skip and a hop over the Sea of Chenal that lands you in Avignon and the broader kingdom of 𝐓𝐿. So Aachen to me always has this kind of on the frontier type Germany, I guess, if you wanted. France and England and Spain and Italy are kind of settled, but the further east you got into Germany, the more wild it became. So that's kind of the feel that I have in Aachen. So I would definitely look at there. Assault, like I said, the Blacktooth Ridge, that region is really good. Let's see, and Northern Kayamar, another favorite spot of mine is Northern Kayamar. If you get right into the edge of that timberland, I can't remember what it's called but I have my map here. So in the north mark, the Micklewood, the Tarkiln, in and around the Tarkiln would be kind of a really cool place to start that as well. Now, as for frozen frontiers, I would go north to the Gotland, definitely. Or cross the sea and land yourself in, what is it called, Hotland and Holmgard, or even there you could push the Aachen Kingdom north, and you're going to have some frozen wastelands to the north in the realms of Eisenheim, which are kind of Viking as well. So that's where I would definitely, probably, it sounds like Aachen is where you might want to start your game. I love that area. DM10, I think that is a great thing for GMs to keep in mind. It isn't important that the players see exactly the same thing you do, just that they see something interesting that keeps them hooked and into the game. What a great piece of advice. Thank you. I think lots of newer game masters spend a lot of time trying to help their players see exactly what they see. Yeah, no, you're right, and it's one of those things. I think there's two sides to the coin of showing visuals. I think they're good. You can immediately see what you want, or portray what you want them to, and so there's no kind of confusion about where a door is or a window or how high the cave is up the escarpment or what have you. But on the other hand, you've immediately forced the players to view this and not engage their imagination. All you've done is kind of told them what to see, and you've not, or showed them what to see, and you've not kind of let their minds just kind of unfold. I prefer to go the other way. I prefer to describe it as opposed to show visual. Simply because I think it engages people more into the game. That said, if half of your players aren't listening, then you've got that problem, which it happens at everybody's table. People just don't listen or they don't hear it. You got to do it all over again. Whereas the visual, they can definitely see it. I do think one of the advantages that phones offers us with visual is that you can text everybody a picture and they can have it, and so you're not holding it up or I guess in this day of video conferencing, just covering the screen or what have you, and allow them to kind of look at it for leisure. But even so, yeah, I'm a big fan of engaging everybody's imagination, or trying to, because, and we're going to get into this, because one of the things that you're doing when you're creating a setting, and this is why I recommend that you start small, is if you engage your players are just as imaginative as you are, and they're going to feed information back to you. And then you can kind of use that as fuel to build the setting around the adventures that you're going. And they're going to say things and ask questions that are going to drive you in different directions that you hadn't thought of. Whereas if you don't engage them, if you don't kind of have them actively imagine what's going on, you risk losing that asset as a GM. And I think that's one of the things GMs don't understand about players, is they are gigantic assets to the adventure, to everything that's going on. They can also be gigantic problems. It goes both ways. But players play a huge role at the table, way beyond, I think, what people kind of conceive them as, well, they're just trying to get to the adventure. They're actually fueling the adventure in many respects. It's all wide open for you. It's a huge world. There's a lot of places to stop. I'm very, very, I don't know. I'm glad that so many people are enjoying Aired as much as we do. It's pure joy to write for. I wish I could just write for it. It would be very cool. But on to panel number 3. We will see what Chuck has for us. So basically what we've done is we've started very small. We've created a small locale, a town, or a village or something, and then we've created details around it. Flora, fauna, some terrain features, something that we can all see from the porch or the windows. And no matter which direction you're going, no matter which direction the characters, players look, they can see what it is you want them to see. So the next element to add to it, what do you got for us, Chuck? Oh, very good. What do we got? Some the Hardy Boys here or something? Oh, very cool. Yeah, so this one is where you want to give, and this is really kind of an internal mechanism for you. This isn't something that the players are going to know immediately, and they may never know it if they don't inquire or don't kind of dive into the material that you're developing. But you want to give this setting a story, and it doesn't have to be some huge, involved, 20-page epic, whatever. It can simply be as simple as the people settled. This is a trading post on a crossroads. They settled here fleeing from the wars in the South. Something along those lines, so that it gives you context for why these people are here, why this structure was made, and why it's successful or not successful, if it's failing, if it's a keep that's run down, or what have you. It gives you a story to kind of feed on. Now, I would recommend a little bit more than that. Just give more story elements to it. How's it going, King Kothar? We are jib jab jabber. It's a good moment to break and say, if you guys have any commentary on what we're talking about tonight, please put it in the thread. We love to hear from everybody, and you guys have mountains of experience, even as I do. So you may approach problems differently, and we'd love to hear from you and hear your ideas. And if you are new to joining us on the Troll channel, please give us a follow. We surely do appreciate it. All right, but I think we were doing story. Tell the story. I love that picture. That's really cool. It's funny. It made me think of the Hardy Boys. Both of my brothers read the Hardy Boys, but I don't think I ever read a Hardy Boys book. I started by the first book I ever read. Early Bird Gets the Worm is the first book that I ever read, but it was pretty basic. It was about a bird who got a worm and made friends with the worm and then gave him a hat. It's a great book. You should look it up. If you got kids, go get the book. It's a fantastic book. But Call of the Wild is one of the earliest books I read, and a couple of things like that, Night Fang and what have you. But the first book that I kind of dove into it captured me beyond anything was Tarzan #5, The Duel of the Vopar. So I never really read the Hardy Boys. So it's odd that picture made me think of the Hardy Boys. But there you go. Comments are modules and supplements providing more verbose flavor text. There you go. That's funny, Reorgs, because we've got this ongoing struggle in this company that I really would like for the published adventures to be shorter, and because many DMs sitting down, GMs, whatever, CK sitting down, they don't want to read 40 pages of backstory to get to the thing. But man, myself and Davis and Jason, we just keep going. That Ruins of the Ends Meet was supposed to be about 15 pages. It turned out to be 27. I guess that's good, but and to just keep going on. Hot take: Conan is greater than Tarzan. Never. Absolutely. It's funny. Davis loved Conan. That's what he read, Conan the Barbarian, and I read Tarzan. It's just interesting how Davis and I's worldviews. That's my brother. For those of you who don't know, Davis Chenault, co-founder of Troll Games, and co-creator with Matt Golden of the Castles and Crusades, the Siege engine, and the game mechanics for creating the engine. But Conan is more, I don't know, grim and dark, and Tarzan, when you read Tarzan books, and we've discussed this a couple of times, man, that dude never doubts anything. He never for a moment doubts that he's going to live And even when he knows he's going to die, he's like, whatever. It's really funny. He's got this very optimistic. Davis is very pessimistic. I tend to be more optimistic. So it's, I wonder if Conan and Tarzan aren't the root of our various mental ailments. So at any rate, and so take your setting and the terrain around it and give it a story. Just some kind of backdrop that brings everything together for you, so that you know why these people are here, or why they built what they did. The more details you can give it, the better. It doesn't need to be, like I said, it doesn't need to be hugely long, but it does need to have some kind of context, mostly for you and into your setting. So that brings us to the next trick of the trade, number 4, people it. So this is probably, I don't know, the details is super important, but how you people the thing is insanely important. Oh crap, I'm supposed to do a update for the NPC Almanac Kickstarter. Yes, I will be doing an update for the NPC Kickstarter very soon, tonight probably, or first thing in the morning. Tim asked me to do that this morning. So anyway, so people you're setting, and just put in, obviously if it's a village, you're going to have 40 or 50 people, some kids, women, men, whatever, it doesn't matter. If it's a tavern, you're going to have a few less if it's a trade post or a keep. But take about 5 or 6, maybe 8 people, and write them up. Give them. Don't worry about stats, because you really don't want players to kill. What you want is tradesmen and NPCs with what we call in capitalism adherents. They're adherents. They're just people who are there. They're merchants. They're tradesmen. They're whatever. Just take 5 or 6, 8 of these people, flesh them out a little bit. Give them a little bit of story. Make sure that they know, in your head, they know the story of why this settlement is here, so they've got that connection. And the reason that you want multiple people to know the story is when your players begin to interact with, if they begin to interact with the NPC, this is going to give you, any one of these 8 NPCs that you kind of place in front of them can be the conduit of information. If you restrict it to just the trapper who comes in once in a while, and the characters for some reason don't talk to him, they're not going to get the information. But if you take that information and share it amongst your NPCs, then it'll be easier for you to get the story of why the settlement is there, and build from there. So on these things, and you definitely want to mix it up with females and males, have an equal number, or not, just at least 1 or 2 of each, so that you kind of a different voice and a different take on things. It's just a good perspective. Now, as for demi-human races, I almost always go human. I don't really look at the demi-humans as being settlement type of people, except maybe gnomes and halflings, but elves and dwarves not so much. And they have a different kind of motivation in the world. But if that's not how you do demi-humans, put 1 or 2 demi-humans in there, so you have even a third perspective of just things. And these guys are here, these guys and gals are here to give you a conduit to pass information on to the players, and for foils for the players to play against. So you're going to have several of your players who love to role play and several who don't. So don't shut those guys out who love to role play by not having enough NPCs that they can role play with. Because if they can't role play amongst themselves, and they're going to be looking for somebody, so give yourself gnomes everywhere. Except in this world. So give yourself 5, 6, 7, 8 gnomes. Give yourself a whole bunch of gnomes and stick them in there, NPCs, and flesh them out with nice descriptions, a little bit of background, understanding the story of the settlements, and with knowledge. And this is key to it, with knowledge, and that details that you put in earlier in Trick of the Trade number 2, the flora and the fauna and what's going on. These people should have knowledge. So I think I described in the Trick of the Trade, there's a little pond in the detail section. There's a little pond, and there's mysterious tracks that appear around it. So 2 or 3 of these people should know, if not all of them, actually really all of them, but more than one should know that there's tracks that are appearing around this little pond down in the valley. Right there, you've got an adventure. There's the bears down there. Now you've got in another adventure. There's caves on the escarpment. These people know about this stuff. Now you've got in another adventure. There's some kind of foul stench coming out of the swamps. Now you've got another adventure. So you've got 4 or 5 adventures just built off of these people, off of this little setting, and these people that know about it and can feed this information to everybody. And be sure you don't waste your time with NPCs that they'll likely never interact with. Right. That's a good point, King Lothar. That's a very good point because you get caught up into this. If you tell people that are not going to be in the tavern or that like a weaver. So if you detail the weaver, the chances of the players going to a weaver are pretty slim. So you probably want to detail someone like the blacksmith or a shop owner. I used to always do the barkeep, but I kind of shied away from that as it's almost it's too stereotypical almost. But I shy away from the barkeep quite a bit. But definitely, yeah, you're definitely right. You don't want to just throw someone out. If the town is full of gnomes, the human villagers could offer a quest to slay the dirty cuttlefish. Yeah, there you go. Poor gnomes. Everybody hates the poor gnomes. And let's see, what was that? Blah, blah, blah. I can't remember what. Okay, whatever. Okay. Your gnome comment threw me off track. Gnomes are really the hardest of all the demi-humans. That book that came out in the 80s, I guess, maybe the 70s, that big book. It was just called Gnomes. There was one called Fairies, I think, and then the gnome on the front is this tiny little guy with a red hat, and there's almost no way that you can purge that image from your mind and put them and make them heroic. And then and I know I'm going to say something that's horrible to people, but is it Dragonlance that did the Tinker Gnomes? The Tinker Gnomes did not help. It didn't recast the gnome into this heroic light, and not at all. So I think I missed a little bit. Absolutely. So DM Samuel says, hey, give the NPCs relationships with each other. Absolutely. They need to know one another. That's a great point, DM. They need to know one another. People have been living in this settlement. They're going to know each other and interact with each other. It's not like today where we're all on the internet and sprawled all over. These people, they talk to one another. Farmer Todd doesn't like the farrier, the mayor is the brother of the sheriff, they don't get along. Yeah, that's fantastic advice right there, DM, because now when you do that type of stuff, you're creating conflict that's really benign. It's not going to draw the characters into this great struggle between the sheriff and the farmer or whatever, but it gives that added depth of context to something to your setting, because everyone has it, right? Everyone has their hang-ups and their whatever it is with this person or that person, and it makes it that much more real. And that's really what most of these details, the story, the fleshing out, the details, the flora, the fauna, is really just to anchor everybody that's at the table, including yourself, in this little setting. You've got a world that really you've only spent 20 minutes on or 30 minutes on, and you scribbled half a page of notes, but you've got a world suddenly that's it's got functioning terrain, flora, fauna, animal life, adventure hooks. It's got people that have real life problems that are interacting with each other, and with knowledge that they can feed into the players and give them adventures to go on to. And you've really done almost nothing to start this thing, which is really the way you really want to do it. Hey everyone, just a reminder, blah, blah, blah. Skelly Dwarves. Yeah, wasn't that from Dragonlance too? That's the King Coda. For me, the conceptual space of gnomes is really strange. They fit the mythical niche of elves, dwarves, and halflings all at the same time. Each of those races do what gnomes do, and they're more iconic examples of it. Tinker gnomes are a bad attempt to fix the problem that unfortunately stuck yet. The only way I can conceive of gnomes as being a bit more distinct, as if they're some kind of half-breed between dwarves and halflings. I know this is super off topic. You're right on, King Kovacs. The gnome really, I don't know if it was poorly conceived, it was poorly interpreted in the beginning, and it wasn't helped along the way. In the world of Erd, I tried to fix it somewhat by making them, much as you said, they're kind of an offshoot of the dwarven people. They're not many of them. There's 47 clans, I think, of these gnomes, and they're very insular, but they're very adaptable to the outside. And what they basically are, if you really want to kind of boil the fat off of it, they're dwarves that live above ground. They adapted to the above ground world and adapted to the winter dark more so than the dwarves themselves did. But they aren't dwarves. They were cast a little differently. But even by doing that, it doesn't cast them in a heroic light where a player's going to sit down and say, I want to play a gnome, and if they do, I'm not going to be able to see them in a heroic light. More work needs to be done on the poor beleaguered gnomes' behalf, I think. Small town politics and family fights that Hatfield family started a few years ago. The party may inadvertently get involved, etc. Yeah, absolutely. That's the context that you want. And the cool thing about all of this, and the details that we've added, is now, and DM and Ultra Magnets are dead on. If you can get them actually to interact with the NPC in such a way that they learn about these minor conflicts, suddenly they have a vested interest in your setting. They've picked sides. They're not just here using this as a launch pad, right, to go to the escarpment and look at the case. They're now part of it. They have a vested interest in how these conflicts are resolved. And once it's resolved, either which way it goes, they're going to have a vested interest in the setting. That's what you want them to do. That's what all of these details are here to do, is to get people hooked to what you're creating. Because once they're hooked, that's going to feed your fuel and carry you on to creating even more, which leads us right into Trick of the Trade number 5. McCoy started. Hey, there's a great movie, the miniseries, I think. Maybe it's a movie. I think it's a miniseries somewhere. Netflix? Hulu? I don't know. It's called Hatfield and McCoys, and it had one of my favorite actors. He just, Hudson from Alien. He just passed away a couple years back. I can't remember anybody's name. At any rate, that guy, he plays the head of the McCoy clan, and I think Kevin Costner's in it, but I might be on track. No, it's not Kevin Costner. Hatfield and McCoy. It is Kevin Costner. Anyway, Hudson and the guy from Waterworld are in. Bill Paxton, that's the guy. Yes, man, I love Bill Paxton. He did just a fantastic series of movies. And I'm not even talking just Aliens and whatever the hell he was in. Predator, and he was on Terminator for 32 seconds. It was Costner. Okay, yes. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it. I absolutely, Twister's good movie. But he did one where he's a fireman. He's actually a fireman from Arkansas. He ends up in St. Louis trying to find this hidden drug dealer's money. Then he did another one where he's hunting people in Wisconsin or something. I don't know. Absolutely. True Lies was a good movie. Absolutely. Losing Bill Paxton. And I'll tell you, that movie that had Tom Cruise in it was actually really good with the time jumping, whatever the hell that was. Bill Paxton plays the sergeant in that, and he steals the show. Absolutely steals the show. It was a shame we lost him. It was, I think, heart failure or something. All horrible. At any rate, so this leads us into Apollo. Oh, yeah, he was in Apollo 13. Edge of Tomorrow, yes. Excellent movie. Apollo 13. Live, die, repeat. Yeah. Yeah, his cameo in Terminator was awesome. Then he gets killed. He's like a guy with the spiked up hair, and he dies almost immediately. He takes his jacket. Of course, he'll never beat his Hudson. I mean, his Hudson from Aliens is just through the roof. I love it. All right, so this brings us to the last trick of the trade, the horizon. So now that you've created this kind of small setting, you've engaged your players, you've created details, everything that you can see from the front porch or the windows, the flora, the fauna, the little valleys, escarpments, whatever it is, and you've peopled it, or you've given it a story, and you've peopled it, and you've given each of those people a little bit of background, and as pointed out by some of you guys out there, a nice context in conflict with these NPCs. Now you want to just get a vague idea of what's beyond the horizon. The adventures that you're going to do immediately don't necessarily have to go beyond the terrain that you can see from the porch, but you want to know, as the GM, as the creator of the thing, you want to have a vague idea, or a concrete idea, but an idea of what's beyond. There's hills to the north, what lies beyond those hills? The escarpment to the east, what lies beyond that? This creek, is it the mouth of a great river that flows off to the south? Whatever it is, just give yourself an idea, because there's a chance that the characters are going to go that direction anyway. And two, the adventures that they're on, when they're interacting with these NPCs, some of these people are going to have some kind of idea, and it prepares you for what's coming next. And what's coming next, and depending on how you run your game, and there's multiple ways of doing it. In this little setting that we've described, easily, I think you could squeeze 4 adventures out of it relatively easily, 2 with no problem whatsoever, and maybe even a few more. So you've got 4 good game sessions, if not longer, depending on how your game sessions go. You've got 4, 5, 6 good game sessions just based around this locale. And at that point, as they go out on Adventure 1 into the escarpment and explore these caves that are there, and they get onto the top of the escarpment, and now they can see what's beyond. The road stretches on, the escarpment ends, and the road stretches on, and far in the distance there is a town. And at that point, you can start actually begin kind of expanding it, which is what we'll get into next week, what is actually how to actually tackle those horizons and how to engage players even more into your setting. But trick of the trade number 5 is get your horizons. Look beyond the horizons. Understand the details that you've created, but understand that it's part of a bigger picture. And at that point, you can begin kind of really looking at your setting as not a world necessarily, but as a terrain, as a domain in another world, or eventually, obviously, into a world of you. King Kovacs, ridiculous pitch incoming. Gnomes as gray aliens. They're just straight up gray aliens that crash landed on the planet decades ago and are slowly dispersing. As they realize the planet is too primitive to rebuild their ship, people call them gnomes in reference to their own folklore. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to have to pitch that to Jason Vane. You know, Jason Vane is the one who wrote Amazing Adventures and kind of modern-esque stuff. It's really his forte. And the Greys are actually a species, I suppose, that are in the Amazing Adventures setting. Solar Burn is one of the settings. There's a number of settings, but the Greys are actually in. I think Solar Burn is the setting that the Greys are in. That's an interesting concept. That's very kind of cool. They just reluctantly adapted to this quasi technologically advanced with magic feudal society. Oh, very interesting. They have more wisdom than they let on. Man, they could share a little bit of it, you know. That's very interesting. I've never done very much gaming beyond the fantasy. I played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons up until the point Castles and Crusades came out, and then I pretty much played that. And I think I ran some Gamma World back in the long ago days, and I want to say I played in some Twilight 2000, and there's maybe the Warhammer is one of the games I played in just a little bitty bit. But I really haven't done much science fiction games. It would be kind of interesting to take that a whole different milieu, if that's the right word, and explain it. Yeah, Gamma World was great. I love Gamma World. I love post-apocalyptic stuff, and I love how it was. Gamma World was much like the early Greyhawk. It wasn't developed so you could just create whatever you wanted in it. It had, you had the United States or whatever. I absolutely loved it. I love Gamma World. It was one of my favorite post-apocalyptic series. Is if you haven't read it, I saw that, Perry. I saw they got a new Twilight 2000 coming out. We ran a few of those games back in the day. That was fun. But Robert Adams has the Horse Clan series books. Really violent, fast-paced, just good, fun literature. Not Tolkien-esque. You're not going to get. There's not going to be any of this massive delivery to you. But Robert Adams has some really great stuff. If you're bored and you're locked down. Check out the Robert Adams stuff. Good stuff. Heresy, I know, but Mutant Crawl Classics really scratches the game a little itch for me. That's cool. I haven't actually. I love the boys over at Goodman Games. I've looked at Dungeon Crawl Classics a lot. I have not looked at Mutant Crawl Classics. I should check it out. I absolutely love Kovacs' artwork. In fact, let me show you guys. Earlier we were talking about of Gods and Monsters of Erd, but Dave was at Game Hall, and he had this painting, and I bought the original. This is Doug Kovacs, who, of course, did all the artwork for Mutant Crawl Classics and Dungeon Crawl Classics. This will be the cover for Of Gods and Monsters of Erd. That personage that you are looking at there is, in fact, Narhite. When I saw that thing, I instantly fell in love with it. And took a nice chunk of our earnings from the convention out of the cash box to Doug Kovacs and purchased it. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's just the painting is just, Doug really, obviously the Codex of Erd, and then there's 2 others that I've not yet used that I purchased years ago. I just need to write the books for them. Insanely beautiful pieces of work. Doug's got a style that it's very evocative. And Doug's stuff is very evocative. he captures, I don't know, he definitely captures the old world vibe, but he's got, I don't know, absolute love Doug. And he's just a genuinely pleasant individual to talk to. And he and I talk politics a lot and philosophy a lot and all kinds of, that type of stuff with ne'er an angry word between the two of us. Just, he's just a great guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to Doug, definitely give him a shout. He's just good people. That's a time of reference to Bride of Frankenstein. Let's see. Yeah, very, very cool. Oh, holy crap, it's already 9 o'clock. So we went over the 50th. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our 50th newsletter for GM's Tricks of the Trade. We'll be back next week, of course. We're going to continue discussing settings. We ended tonight with Look Beyond the Horizon, and we will pick that up next week with kind of expanding the setting beyond that and getting your feet wet into the wider world. And importantly, mythologies will start playing into it next, which is one of my favorite parts of it. So thank you all for showing up and enjoying, and really enjoy. Yes, night 5150. These days it is extremely difficult to talk politics and not get into an argument. Doug and I are pretty funny. We just kind of, I don't know, maybe we're older and we're just, you can't do anything about it anyway. It's not ready to get all worked up. I don't know. It's funny. Absolutely love talking to Doug. But yeah, thank everybody. DM Samuel Night 5150. 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝, Jay Fedora. Thank you all for joining, and really appreciated the comments tonight. You guys gave me some great ideas. I mean, adding conflict to the NPCs is just fantastic. It's really a perfect. The reason that I think that this platform works so well is we can talk about it, and you guys throw in your ideas at me. We can all share them, and all hopefully become slightly more skilled game masters than we were before. Can I say level up? I really hate that. I really don't. I'm not going to say that. One of the things that I learned early on in publishing is that people came to me and said, I'm going to bring your company to the next level. Conversation's over. Conversation's over. What you need to do is just bring a lot of work to the table, because this is a lot of work. That's about it. All right, so I think are we doing a raid? Yes, we are raiding Lord Gazumba. He is running his 39-year-old game. So here in just a moment, Chuck's going to take us all off, and we're going to plunder Gazumba. Thank you all for showing up. We'll be back again next Tuesday for AMA at 4 o'clock, and then next Wednesday, 7 p.m. for our painted miniature show. I haven't got a title memorized yet, and then I'll be back again for GM's Tricks and Trade next Thursday at 8 o'clock. So please, everybody, join us again. Spread the word, all of that goodness. And I'm going to suddenly sign off when Chuck yells at me and tells me to end stream so that we can, I've already done it. Okay, all right, and then I will end it. So thank you all for showing up. Very much appreciated. Chuck, are we good? What are we doing? Chuck, don't leave me hanging. Uh-oh, something happened. All right, I'm out. Thank you all.